but as I was reading through it, I thought um, that they explained it probably better than I would have as I was jumping through hoops on Canvas. So I'm going to try to not go and make people dizzy as I go through, kind of comparing this with what we see in Canvas. Um, but I did want to kind of walk through um, this. So this is actually from 2019. So really just before our worlds turned upside down with COVID, and but the way that they approached it, I thought was really interesting. So I thought I would share today as we kind of talked about engaging students and teaching using the online space. I also later on I have something that Natalie shared with me that really kind of opened my eyes to the regular and substantive interaction, the interaction that happens in our LMS and really with our students. And it can be a challenge in the online space. So there's some examples of what that might look like in the online space. So hopefully this is beneficial to you. At any point, stop me or fill in the blanks as well. Um, so this is the title of this is Being There, Basic Strategies for Online Teaching. But they kick it off by talking about the approach to the course and also to the LMS. So we're going to kind of play with both of those. But their first point here was to create a good beginning. So what does a good beginning? What do our students see when they come to our course? So if anybody has ever been in one of my demonstrations and I've opened my sandbox, you'll see that life is a mess in Will's sandbox that he's used for 4 years to demonstrate things. Like course navigation is all over the place. I have modules that some of them say modules, some of them say weeks, some of them say whatever. I have links and files and pages and quizzes, and some of the stuff makes sense. Some of it is just me testing. And the truth is that if I was to copy this to a course, that's what my students are going to see, right? They're going to see this kind of like Will's mind in the world of a Canvas site. And while some of us, not me, but others are very organized and even in their mess would look organized to most people. A lot of us just, we just don't. We changed an assignment instructions or we created a new assignment and we just unpublished the assignment that we had previously. Maybe because we don't want to lose it or whatever. But those things start to accumulate in your course, and so as we look at that first point about creating a good beginning, I think really that is the first step for me anyways, is before we turn this on to our students, making sure that some of the suggestions they have here. Do you have some sort of welcome or introduction to the course for your students? Now that may be a discussion. It may just be an announcement that you present that that shows who you are and what you're about and what the course is about. That could be a video, it could be a text, it could be any number of the actual content is totally up to you. But this idea of like the first day of class, what do we do with our students? Well, we welcome them to the class and we talk to them about that. But in the online space, we just have a structure of this course content, and then we say, oh, well, they're going to know exactly what to do when they get to my course. They're just going to start working right along. But we want to introduce them to the course, introduce them to you, and then also like that's a good place to say, how are you going to get in contact with me, and how can you expect me to get in contact with you outside of this course space? What are the expectations of things like discussion boards? So they talk about discussions here, but things like discussion boards. What do I expect from you in discussions? What can you expect from me? When you send me a message, or when you put a comment on an assignment, when can you expect a response from me? So all of those things that you would say either in your syllabus or in front of your students on day one in your face-to-face classroom, um, we try to create that experience in maybe a getting started module or a welcome announcement or something like that in the course. So starting with a good beginning. The other thing that I talked about that I think can there's 2 points at the beginning of the course. What are students going to do? Well, they're gonna look at all of the things. These are all of the things that I need to accomplish. I have to get these things done. These are my tasks for this course. Um, a way that's not any extra work for you that helps those students with creating that task list is by posting due dates. So you'll see down here, they have a note about posting due dates. So when you post due dates in your course, you don't have to put um, the available until or from and until dates, any of those things. You don't have to put those in there. And actually, this author um, suggests to not put them unless it's absolutely necessary, because it just causes frustration for you because you I don't have a dog in that fight, but when you put due dates, automatically it shows up on the student's calendar. It shows up on their to-do items on their homepage. Um, it also shows up on their the actual syllabus page in chronological order, so they can see in a list form all of the things that they have to accomplish and when they have to accomplish those. And all you have to do is add a due date. You don't have to do anything special outside of that. Is you just add a due date to the items in your course, and Canvas does that for them. The challenge lies is if there's multiple due dates or it's a running due date for something, or so there's a lot of reasons why people don't put due dates. Totally understand that, but if you could put a due date, um, that would be excellent. For discussions, the due date is for, just because we were talking about it, the due date is actually for the initial post. So if you want to, like, you have a due date of Wednesday for the initial post for students, and then Sunday is for the follow-up posts. A lot of us will put the due date on Sunday, which captured anybody that doesn't post at all, or posts after Sunday. You can also move that due date to Wednesday. That when you do that, it will you'll see a notification for students that post, say, on Thursday or Friday, as opposed to the initial post date of Wednesday. But that does, going back to like students identifying the task list, when we put a due date of 11 or of Sunday on our discussions, um, students don't see that in their calendar until Sunday. So that, that they could just be going in order and not see that they have to do a discussion on Wednesday, even though you have instructions and they should understand that. But that's so due dates. It's a great way to kick your students off. Um, if I do jump out into this, this mess of a course I have here, just to, you probably are all familiar with how you update your navigation, but just go down to settings, navigation, and then you can drag and drop, or you can click the 3 dots and disable. And then there's a save at the bottom. Anything that if you build your course online through modules, your students need none of the links. So they don't have to have links to assignments, or to the assignments part over here in the course navigation, quizzes, discussions. If they have access to modules and that's where the stuff is, they will see that. One thing to know about your students that I've learned in my 4 years here is almost 100% of students don't have this view that come into my office. They have this view, which once it figures itself out, is an agenda day to day, and all of those links are the things that have due dates in your course. So their touch point, so to speak, in your course is actually your assignments, in most cases. And so they're just looking at, what do I have due on Friday? And then each class would be would be separated there. But so cleaning up that navigation, having everything with due dates if possible, making sure that you've introduced yourself and the course, and any of those things would be great ways to get them off to the right start. Yeah, Mario.
Well, I have a question relevant to all of this. In past semesters, when I open a course at the beginning, it's got like a little welcome page automatically loaded in with a picture of campus and places to fill in all my contact info. And I noticed that's not around this semester. So could you tell me how to add it in? How can I? So for right now, when I open one of my new course shells, it just takes me to the modules page when I click home.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, did you do a complete course copy when you copied your
For all but
stuff
one.
in?
And so the
Okay.
one I didn't copy, and the others before I did the copying, the home page was the modules page. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so there's a couple ways. It your course could potentially have it in there. I would check this choose homepage first, just to see if there's a pages front page
Hmm.
option. Because if you do a course copy, generally it comes over that way, and it's just
Okay, I see it. And yeah, I don't have a front page. It says it must be set first.
okay. So
So I
the
make a page and then set that. I see. Okay.
but if you don't have the page in your course, then I actually added it. I added it out in Commons, so you could just go import from Commons,
Okay.
and then it may be featured. It may be one that's featured here, but if not, just filter to University of St. Francis, and then that homepage that's right here is that one that has the the contact information and 4 buttons.
Homepage template. Got it.
Yeah. So you can just import that into your course, and if you need anything else, the whole course is out there as well. So like if you wanted the getting started module, or any of those things, it's out there also. But yeah, the homepage is just right there.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and in future semesters, all of your courses are the way that the systems interact with colleague, as opposed to when it was Genzabar, it no longer creates or adds that content in. So, but you shouldn't have to do it moving forward if you do a course copy. Awesome. So, that brings up a good point. So when you do a course copy, the other thing that I actually forgot to mention earlier was announcements. So when you do a course copy, all of your announcements from the previous semester are going to copy over with it. Now you may want to just delete them all and start fresh, um, but they're all published when they come over. So students technically could, if they had access to announcements, or if there were the little announcements at the top, um, they could see all of those past announcements before you were ready for them to. There's a couple of things you can do. One, just you could just delete them and then copy. I'm going to go back to my spring 23 course and just copy and edit or import. That you can do that. The other thing you can do is in if I was to go into this announcement, there's this delay posting function. And so I could go in and put this date. I could schedule this out. If I have my weekly announcements and they're good. The other thing I could do is I could just say I'm not ready for this announcement yet, and I could go put it out till December 15th or 16th after the course closes. And then you'll know that one's never going to post until I'm ready for it to post. And then you would have access to go in and edit it. And then when you are ready, you just go in, edit, undo this check here, and hit save or publish, and it'll be available to your students. So that's come up, especially as you're doing course copies. You may have 6 or 8 announcements. Some of them are general announcements for the week or for the class, but some of them are in response to, weather conditions or, or extended due dates because of who knows what. But if those don't apply, delay them, and then you can always bring them back later or just delete them altogether. So that's announcements. You can, students will see the last couple generally on your homepage. But if you want students to be able to access announcements, you can enable that and they'll have access to past announcements as well. And so that would really fall into this, create a good beginning and just making sure that that course is clean and set up and ready for students to see it. The next part, and I'll just veer a little bit off of this, is communication. So I really want to spend a few minutes just talking about, like, here's all of the ways in Canvas, all the tools that you have to communicate with your students. Some of them you're going to be super familiar with. Announcements, that's an easy way to communicate with your students. Other ways, maybe less familiar or things that you haven't done in the past, but we'll just kind of walk through a few of your options. So the first one I said was announcements, and some people just choose to. That's their way to communicate with students at the beginning of the week or at the end of the week, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to have my announcements and they're ready. Another thing that some people will use and some have sworn off, but I want to I want to bring it back and present it as an option for you, and that's the use of the inbox. So I know that I love my Outlook and I prefer to use Outlook, but there are a couple like really nice things that you can do with your Outlook or with your inbox. So one example is, and this has to happen, courses have to be in session in order for you to send these inbox messages to your students. So you can't like inbox them now. Once your course is published, I believe is at the point when you can do that. So I'll just find a course that I'm in, and then so I can email a specific course. I can also do like almost like a BCC or a mail merge. Here is that I could send an individual message to each student. So each student's going to get an individual message from me. And then when I go to select the recipients, then I can select all students, or I can come in and I can, hand pick students. Also have access to teachers if my course has multiple sections, and also if I have groups. So it's a nice way for you to differentiate between all of the different kind of groups within your course. And this is a pretty, you're really using plain text here. You can attach things. You can also use this to record just a simple recording of like a talking head type of video. But this is a great way for you to communicate with your students. Maybe one time, instead of sending an announcement in the system, you choose to send an inbox message, and they just get a little bit different type of notification as opposed to the announcement. What I've found with like announcements is students get, because they get that email, if you do like a video announcement, for example, that video doesn't show up in the email notification they get, just the text. So one thing to consider is to type in like, please review the video, please enjoy the video announcement below, or something like that. So to give them an indication that that there's something there for them, so they can go out to the course and see it. So you can use the inbox, you can use your announcements. There's also a really neat tool in grades, and actually it's in analytics as well, but we'll start with grades. There's a feature called, and that's the Learning Mastery Gradebook. Let's go to traditional gradebook. So there's a feature called Message Students Who, and if you're not familiar with it, let's go, for example, to the personal statement. So in this assignment, students have 3 of the 4 students have submitted work. So if I went to the 3 dots here, I have this option to message students who. And so I'm going to go in here and there's 4 options, but it defaults to have not submitted. So I have 1 student that hasn't submitted the personal statement assignment. I can change the subject. And I can just write a general like, hey, this is a reminder that your personal statement is due on Friday. So let's say it's Thursday afternoon and you got 5 students that haven't submitted out of 25. You could send them a quick reminder. This will come through as an inbox message to them, and you can do that. The other thing you could do is, let's say, on a quiz, I don't know, if there's some students who scored poorly on the quiz. So you could say they scored less than, and you put a percentage in. They scored less than an 80%. Change your subject and write a general message. Hey guys, for anybody who scored less than 80, I'm going to add an attempt and allow a second attempt to the quiz. Whatever your thing might be. But this is a good way to communicate with those students that meet certain criteria quickly from your Canvas gradebook. And then also, so there's a score more than, like a kudos, and then have not been graded. This one might be good if you graded half of them and then life happened and you have to, you got to wait a day before you're going to grade the rest of them. You might be able to go in here and say, hey guys, I was working on these. Something came up. You'll get your grade in the next 24 hours, whatever the case may be. So that's Message Students Who. The second piece so Message Students Who is available to you in the gradebook. It's also available to you in analytics. So if you're ever out in analytics and I don't know, like for example, I look at weekly activity. You can come in and based on their activity, send them a message. So participated or didn't participate. Maybe your discussion for the week. It's Wednesday, and most of your students haven't participated in the discussion. Well, I can come out here and send everybody that hasn't participated yet a quick message to remind them, hey guys, make sure that you get your discussion post, your initial post in by 11:59 p.m. tonight. So Canvas, the blog post that I shared and what we're talking about is really about instructor presence and how do we interact with our students. And I think sometimes we get in the online space, I have announcements, I have the course content that I create, and then I have feedback on assignments. And those are the ways that I communicate with my students. And the nice part about Canvas is that you just have several more ways to make that happen. So we talked about announcements. We talked about the Message Students Who in the gradebook, the inbox. Another way that you can simulate announcements, or you can just prompt a notification to your students, is actually in your pages. So when I don't know what I have on my. So if I went in to edit, there's a couple things that I can do with pages. So the first thing I can do is I can add it to the student to do. So in the student to do, when I add that, it shows up on their calendar like an assignment would. So if I have really important instructions for an assignment or a policy, or I don't know, whatever, something that I need students to review before something else happens, this could be an option for you. I wouldn't do it on all your pages because they'll learn that there's an icon next to pages versus assignments and they'll ignore them. But but this is a way that you can prompt just another way for students to see something. And then the second thing is to publish at. So this one is already published. So let's go in and we'll go unpublish and then we'll go edit. So now I have an option to publish at. Um, when things are published in your course, students get an announcement, but they get a notification unless they've turned it off, which most of our students, at least the ones that I see, they just don't generally ignore or set their notification preferences. So you can also, if it's a page that has information that you like to send to students in, say, week 4, I don't know, some part in the course, you can set this date to publish at. That's going to publish whenever you put the date up, but that's also going to communicate to your students that something has changed in the course. They're going to get a notification that says, hey, this new thing was published, which could be a way for students who don't generally go through the modules. It may just be another prompt for them to go out and get whatever the information is that you wanted them to see. Again, I probably wouldn't, some personal preference. If you publish things kind of throughout the course, you can do that, or you can have everything published at the beginning, whatever works best for you. But this is one option to kind of just throw another notification at your students to draw their interest to your course. So that is another way that anytime things change in your course, it notifies students. So if you can strategically place changes, it's just another way to notify students that things are happening in the online space. It's not just it's not just a stagnant thing that has 10 tasks that I have to complete in the next 8 weeks. So so that is pages. I think that's going to be on the communication side. I can't think of any other things. Obviously, the tools that you have outside of Canvas with Teams and Outlook are other ways that you communicate with your students. But in Canvas, that's pretty much it. One thing that to step it away from communication and really just get into how do we engage with our students, and I'll look at specifically assignments in this one, is the idea that I'm quite the influencer on the social media, but like that I've heard people who talk about how content is king. Like you have to you have to put it out there so that people can consume it. And I think for what that means for you, it's obviously you're going to have your content in your course, assignments, readings and resources, all those things, but other ways that you can provide you and your voice and potentially your face. There's things in assignments like assignment instructions. I've heard a lot of really good feedback from USF instructors who, after years of kind of like answering emails with questions about clarifications on assignment instructions and things like that, they switched and they went into Canvas Studio and they started creating video instructions for their students. And either they embed that, and Mario, you're probably familiar with how to embed, but I'll just walk through it really quickly. But and I do this in announcements, but it's the same everywhere. But they'll create their discussion, or they'll create those instructions in their Canvas Studio, and then they'll embed it. There's actually a tool right here that links directly to my my studio, and then I can just select that video and embed it. And so that video now comes in here. The other way is So when students came to the video, they would just see us here. They would see your instructions and be able to listen to them. The other thing that I've done in another one of my courses um, is actually just used it as a link. So I'm going to jump out the studio now. Um, and find a video, the same video I just embedded, and I want to share it. So instead of embedding it and it being the central part of my assignment instructions, I don't change my assignment, but I add a link. So I'll create a public link here, and I'll just copy this link, and I add this link to my assignment. So if they are confused or they would prefer video instructions, I've added that as an option for my students. Again, just another way of being present yourself, but also when sometimes text is confusing, um, and sometimes just walking through it and hearing your voice and hearing your expectations, it gives those students just the what they need to get past whatever that confusion is. So Canvas Studio is, if you're not familiar with Studio, it's cloud-based. It's built right into Canvas. You can do assignment instructions. You could do lecture, all of those things. I have yet to really run out of like an hour or 2 hours. I wouldn't recommend recording yourself for 2 or 3 hours, but if you did, um, it's Studio can handle it. Um, you can also add videos. So what I've done in some of my previous courses is, and I'll filter these by collections. Collections in Studio are like, they're like subfolders. And so if I have videos that relate to a certain course or a certain topic, then what I'll do is I'll create a collection, and then I'll drop all my videos into that one collection. So then it's easy for me to find it when I go to embed it. So the other part to this on the Canvas side, it doesn't take from your course storage. So every course in Canvas has a gigabyte of storage. You add one video to your course in the files, and you have no storage left uh, in your course, pretty much. So the only other thing that I think we've seen run us out of space is actually the like a PowerPoint that's got a video component to it. Those files get large as well if you've recorded audio over a slide or something like that. So um, so that's Canvas Studio. A couple things that we can do with a Canvas Studio video to add that next level of engagement with your students. So there's two ways that you can do that with a video. The first way is by annotating. So Canvas calls this annotation. Basically, in a video, it's a stopping part. It's a stopping point in the video where you can just give I feel really bad. If Janet ever watches this, Janet, I'm sorry for showing the stopping you on the face. I did it again. Um, so it at a point in your timeline, let's say you had you were planning for a 10-minute video, it went 18. And so you wanted to stop the students in the middle of your video, prompt them to do something, and then have them come back and watch the next 9 minutes of your video. So in an annotation, you get this menu over here, and there's just a few things that you would do. So I'll add a headline, and then you get 200 characters to add a description. If you want the students to link out somewhere, so for example, I'll just put Google here, and then okay. So I have my stop point. I'll hit that. This is what it looks like for your students. So they play the video, they're watching, watching. They come to your annotation, it stops them, it gives them whatever information you wanted them to have. If you want them to jump out somewhere, then it links them out to it in another tab so they can come back to it. And then they hit continue. And when they hit continue, they'll continue your video. And so that's called annotations. You can put multiple, you just put them on, one, you can put them in several spots on your timeline, or you can just do one in the middle, whatever you want. The second way to add engagement to your videos is through the quizzing. So quizzes, add a video quiz here. You can add a description. One thing that you may want to do, especially if your goal is for students to watch the whole video, and you're using your questions to kind of help that goal, you can hide where students, so they don't see when your questions are on the timeline. And then there also, if you want to display when those, if you have annotations and quiz questions, you can display your annotations and not your quiz questions, or you can turn that off. So I'll just say get started. And this is the same thing as the annotations. I pick a point on a timeline and hit the plus sign. I have three options: multiple choice, or true, false, multiple answer. And then so you just question mark. You just like in quizzes, you can put feedback for correct answers or incorrect answers. You let save, and then as students, as they watch the video, when they come to this point on the timeline, it's going to freeze and it's going to say, it's going to pop up the question. They answer the question, hit submit, and go on. So once I have a quiz in a studio video, I'm going to go back to my course. In my announcement, I'm going to get rid of this one, and then I'm going to go back to studio and find that video again. This is the one. You'll know that it has the quiz because it's got the little rocket ship. Select, and then I need to turn on this video quiz embed here. When I do that, it's going to have me. You can add different quizzes and present it differently. And then when I'm done, I'll just hit embed. And my video with preparing my quiz is saved here. So the way I'm doing it here would not be tied to a grade book or a quiz or a score in your grade book. If you wanted it to, then you can set it up, and I'll show you that as well. But you can set it up so that it gets sent to the grade book. And what it would be is you'd set it up as an assignment, and then whatever percent they got on the questions that you had, it would just translate to that. So I'll come back to this in quiz. Let me just refresh. It might just show up. No. Okay. So I'll show you how to do it as an assignment. I'm just going to go in and add a new assignment, and video quiz. I don't have to put it here. I actually go external tool. So I'll go down a little bit on my submission type. This is where I want them to submit online. I'm going to select external tool, and then I'm going to go out and find my studio video. So this is a list of all the things we have here. Studio, click on studio. It's going to link me to that. I'm going to find the right one. So it's going to link me to my library. This one's got a quiz, video quiz embed, and make sure I turn that on, and then click embed and hit select. And now when I save this, I'll save and publish. It's going to it's loading in a new tool, but it'll load me out to this. I would take this quiz, watch the video, answer the questions. For some reason, Canvas doesn't want me to demonstrate what it looks like. But once students take that quiz, they're going to get scored based on a percentage. So if there's 5 questions, they get 4 out of 5, but you wanted your assignment to be worth 10 points, then it would just show as 8 out of 10 for you. Same 40 out of 50, whatever you wanted to put as your assignment total points. But it's just going to do the math and fix that. So that's 2 ways to use video to add some other points on the video to engage your students, whether it's annotations or quizzes. Studio is a great place to do all of your video needs. And like I said before, where you can add video that enriches the experience for your students and creates a more engaging, or at least makes you more of a human for online, especially if it's an online space, for those online students to know that you're there, you're walking alongside them, and that the course was created by it. I think sometimes online students just think I'm showing up, I'm going to do 10 things, I'm going to get a grade, and I'm going to move on with life. And we really want them to they want to interact with you and interact with the content, with their peers in this online space. And it's not an easy task. So these are some of the things that you can do to create that experience. I think that, let me jump back here. I did want to share maximize experiment with your role. I think we're good there. I did want to share this. So we actually did a newsletter on the RSI, or regular and substantive interaction. But this was something that kind of stood out to me. Natalie shared this with me, and really kind of light bulb went off on some of the things as I'm preparing for my courses this fall. And so the left-hand side, and we can share this out, but on the left-hand side, it's it's interaction, but it wouldn't be considered regular and substantive interaction. We do have to think about this. It's difficult in the online space, right? You can't just pull a student aside, or they're doing group work and we're going to talk to groups individually and ask them questions and walk them through the challenges and things like that. You have to be creative in the online space. But like the first one, for example, if you're sending out, I want to interact with my students, so I'm going to send them a weekly announcement, and I'm going to make sure that they know when things are due, and so that's going to kick them off and they're going to be in good shape. Then I'm going to provide some feedback on that assignment when they turn it in, so I'm closing the loop. I'm going to do it all. And that, these probably people could debate one side or the other, but think about it. If I'm just telling you, here's what you're doing this week, and then telling you how you did on that, versus the RSI example where I'm going to create an announcement that has all that information, but I'm also going to provide information on how you can be successful in the assignment. Maybe you have examples of a work or challenges that your students have had in the past. Providing additional resources. So here's some more information that might help you this week on your items. Maybe a recap of the week before. So just additional information, which kind of turns it into that substantive piece, where it's not just what they see in their, I'm just rehashing what they already see on their to-do list. So I thought that was a good example. There's also, and one thing that I struggle with in the online space is providing individualized feedback on their performance or their assignments. So, like I'm cranking through, I have a rubric and I'm cranking through my assignments. But is my rubric built in a way where I can provide that feedback to students that makes sense with the work that they completed. It's not just, did you, is it APA format or MLA or Chicago or whatever you're writing in? That's important, but, how are we making students better at what you're asking them to do? And I think that's a struggle for me personally is, um, what's my goal for students in this assignment? Yes, I want them to write well, and I want them to, not have misspellings and grammar, and if I include that in the feedback, that's great. But also, am I asking them to think critically? Do I give them feedback based on how well they presented their ideas or they thought about the prompt or stimulus or whatever it was? And am I giving them that feedback on their individual work, not just general comments about like, hey, we want you to think critically on this assignment. Um, and so I think that's a place of growth for me as an instructor, but I'm leaning to get towards this green side or blue or whatever color that is. My wife tells me I don't know any colors, so um, but yeah, so I'll share this out. A couple examples there, but I really did think that as more and more of our things are online and more of our students are online, um, it taking a look at this and thinking, what can I do outside? I know what I've done in the past or what the model when I took an online class was. I have announcements, assignments, and things. I know that exists, but how can I create a more engaging and enriching experience for my students? And does that mean that I have to try some things and fail, or reach out to Mario's on the call here, so you reach out to Mario and say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? Or reach out to TLS. Or whatever discipline you're in, the people that you work with. But I think that if we work together, that we can we can really make strides in this direction, create more engaging content for students, and work together, not on islands, on it as well. So that was way more than you bargained for today, but hopefully it was good information. And if you do have any questions or you want TLS to put eyeballs on anything, work with you, then email tls@sf.edu, or I'm W Wells. So reach out to me. We're always happy to collaborate and work on those things. So I'll let you get back, answer any questions anybody has, or I'll let you have some time back.
No questions. Thanks for your knowledge, Will.
Awesome. Have a good rest of your week. We're almost done.
Sounds good.